We are now live.
We are live. Catherine, we're live. Welcome to Heart, Navigating Lipedema Together. I'm Lisa Duerre, and I'm here with the fabulous, amazing original heart guide gift to the world, Dr. Catherine Seo. How you doing today, Catherine?
Hi, and I get the privilege to hang out with you. You're so busy these days.
It's a little wild these days. It
I
is.
know it's wild. It's wonderful. It's really an indicator of how treasured your work is in so many high-tech organizations.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, right after this, I'm hopping on a plane, gonna go do some more of that. And it's so interesting because I was getting ready for my flight and thinking about all of our lipedema conversations that we have. And yes, I have 2 seats. I did the person of size on Southwest Airlines. I do have a wheelchair waiting for me because the Portland airport is really long, right? There's a lot of walking and standing and security. And I'm really grateful for those things to help me be my best when I land and get to the client. So yeah, that I'll be capturing my experience today, and I'll be sure to share it too.
Oh, that's
But
so
yeah,
good. Yeah, Southwest is the only airlines that does two seats for one.
that's the only one I've been able to find. I think
Yeah.
I am in a group. It's called Flying While Fat, and they share ideas all the time and support each other on types of airplanes and seat measurements and all that. But for me in the U.S., Southwest has been a really big help. I have to pay for 2 seats. They refund me one on the other side. But
Mhm.
it's yeah, there's it requires a lot of energy to even gear up to get ready to go. And I booked my flight after this because I didn't want to miss this call. I didn't want to miss our time with our guests today. I'm so excited about advocating and finding our voice and doing it in ways where we can support our emotional well being and our physical needs. Do you want to do the honors of bringing her up? Because I met her because of you.
Oh my God, I absolutely adore Brenda Viola. We get to spend time with Brenda. Let me say, she is one of the best humans on the planet.
I agree.
Um, we met many years ago and have been in the lymphatic helping community together ever since. And Brenda started the roundtable, which is helping lipedema get out there for more people as a consultant working for LymphoPress. But she's now blissfully and so well positioned as a communicator about all of the things that we talk about how do you get seen and heard, how do you not let the external judgments that come at us sometimes, like that rifle that they're trying to stop happening, it's like that, that's what it feels like sometimes, even walking down the street with the kind of diseases that we have. How do you
Yeah.
do that? And how do you move your internal view of yourself so that you hold yourself with loving kindness? And that's what Brenda's all about. Welcome, Brenda.
Oh,
Yay, Brenda!
it's such a joy to be with two friends. And, I do podcast interviews all the time. I have been amazed and thrilled at the research that you did, taking the time to actually read my book, How to
Look
Be
at
Heard
this.
Without Screaming. I know. I love that about you, Lisa. And I love also, I'm so honored because Catherine, and I said this before we went live, your entire community was built because you are a master communicator and you have mastered the secret sauce of all communication, which is love. You love people, you make people feel seen and heard, and that's what builds community and builds bridges. So again, I'm humbled and honored to be here and really excited to talk about how your audience can be heard because their voices are so important.
Yes, yes. So let's start there. Because you've had your own journey and your own struggles and your own real move to express yourself and have your voice be heard. What can you share with our audience about your own journey and the learnings that you've been able to gather?
Thank you for asking. And I will say that the book surprises people because it often reads as a memoir too, because I share some painful experiences that caused me to shut down and what I learned from them, which is why I love when people get to learn by bypassing the pain if they can. When I was 10 years old, I knew I wanted to be the next Diane Sawyer. And favorite my favorite Christmas gift was a tape recorder, and I went around interviewing everyone. Nobody was off limits. Everybody, I'd interview everyone. And I was excited and a performer and someone that was very extroverted, even though I was in unique packaging. I was 100 pounds in kindergarten, which I was bullied a bit when I was a kid, and some of the kids wouldn't play with me, but I had this effervescent personality that sort of surmounted all the external stuff. But when I was 10, my dad died suddenly. And as a 10-year-old, you don't really know how to navigate all those emotions. But I knew that my mom, who was now 37 and left with 2 young girls to raise by herself, didn't need any additional pressure. So I decided to just be a very quiet, good girl, never make any waves, and certainly not try to upset the apple cart. But the end result was I shoved everything inside. And I learned to be one person on the outside, playing nice with everybody, but never really associating with my internal life. I was very disassociated for most of my adult life. I knew how to work situations and rooms and created success, and I was a professional communicator, but I was not in touch with my feelings. And it wasn't until I made peace with what was going on inside of Brenda that my communication took on an authenticity. And really in that authenticity is where people will hear you, because people can smell a phony from a mile away. And while it's painful to say I was a phony, I really was, because I was too afraid to say no. I was too afraid to really give voice to fears and concerns and that check mark inside of my heart. So I always say to people that inner work releases your voice, and that often it is about the relationship you have with yourself. The healthier that is, the healthier your communication and your relationship will be with others. And it was a long journey, like a 50-year journey to get there. So thank you for asking, because there's always something behind it. And the book ends each chapter with an exercise. So it's not just about my story. It's put yourself in the story. What shut you down? Because if you can answer that and work on that, you've unleashed some freedom there. That can let your voice be heard.
Yeah, the exercises are amazing, Catherine. I don't know if you've seen them yet, but it's short snippets and each chapter has a reflection, which to me, I think is a huge gift, because you learn in story, but you also can learn by looking at yourself. Go ahead. I just wanted to highlight the exercises. They're a huge impact.
Why don't you go ahead, because I am getting the link so I can put it in the chat.
Oh, okay.
So people can buy Brenda's book.
Yeah, everyone, you need this book. So first I want to say hi to Casey. She's here. Sandra, Becky, Kendra, Carol, Sherry. They're all cheering you on, Brenda. Huge fans. I mean, for those in the lipedema community, most of us know Brenda, right? We know that she speaks on behalf of us, not even having lipedema, but understanding. And one of the things in the book, and listen, I'm here, but one of the things that I want to start off with is I'm always talking to lipedema patients and leaders, because I'm a leadership coach. What does it take to create a flexible, intuitive, resilient, mindful work experience? Because I believe that's the key to unlocking all of our greatest potential. And you have a chapter in here where you talk about, I think it's reading the room. And you actually, in your book that is not about lipedema, bring lipedema into the conversation. And you were talking about the room setup and the chairs. And I just want to say, maybe we can start there, Brenda, because we have a lipedema community here listening. When you're thinking about reading the room and setting it up, I too have been to conferences and had conversations like, why are there only high boy tables and nowhere for us to sit? Why are we required to stand to eat when standing is painful? Right. And I think about the work environment. So what tips or insights do you have about reading the room? And just from my heart to yours, thank you for sneaking in lipedema into that chapter, because
I
I think
will
you're going to
always, weave lipedema in there, because over the last 5 years, I've developed such a love and respect for the lipedema patient population. In my consulting work for LymphoPress, I learned about this condition and I began interviewing people and hearing their stories and their struggles and their need to be resilient, to be their own advocates. And what a privilege and a joy to set up a platform where people can share and feel seen and heard. So it was the FDRS conference maybe 3 years ago, and it was going to be the first time that I met some of the lipedema patients that I'd only known virtually for a couple of years. And we were going to have a dinner honoring some of our anchor panelists. And in that setup, I had created a menu and an environment and had things I wanted to say to these women. And I checked out the room in advance, and it was beautiful, except every one of the chairs had arms. And I knew, because I knew my audience, that number one, it would not accommodate our guests. They would feel uncomfortable. And that all of the effort that had been spent in creating a message would mess up the moment, because it would take the first 15 minutes to a half hour to extract the chairs, change them out, and all that. So I say, before you go into any situation, who is your audience? What do they need? Whether it's a certain kind of chair or whether it is amplification. So many people hate microphones. Oh, no, I don't want to use the microphone. Hey, if you cannot hit the back of the wall with your voice, we want to remove barriers to being heard.
Yep.
And those barriers, no matter how well you've honed your message, can mean people check you out.
Yeah, I really, really appreciate it so much, Brenda, because when I talk to people in the workplace, so many patients are afraid to ask for what they need, and they feel like they're going to be judged or labeled. And I listen. I was phony too. Okay, I'm just going to say, I lived a lifetime of thinking, I just want to be normal. There's nothing wrong with me. I'll just buy bigger pants. This pain isn't here. I don't even know what pain is. Like, I did all that. And once I found Catherine and I learned about lipedema, I had to really reassess and reevaluate, who am I in this world and what am I going to stand for and stand against? And I really do shout at the rooftops about workplace accommodations. And I know that there are employers and managers who are willing to do it. And I know there are those of us who, weren't really in tune or didn't feel worthy of even asking for the accommodation. I'm flying to a client and I basically said, I need 2 seats, right? I need 2 seats. That's where we're at. And I would have never done that before. And so when I have another client who I said, I'm going to drive to you instead of fly, and he's like, well, it's faster to fly. And I said, I know, but it'll be easier on my lymphatics if I drive. I can stop when I want. I can move when I want. And he was like, oh, I never thought of that. And so me kind of stepping into this space of authenticity instead of shame, because believe me, I don't want 2 seats. And I certainly don't want to say I have to drive because it's easier on my lymphatics, but that's my reality. And so I think it's a combination of being willing to ask for what you want, and also the leader, the manager, the partner, even doctor's offices, how many chairs with arms, like, it's a whole thing. So I just really appreciate this chapter. I appreciate you presencing it. And Catherine, I'd love to bring your voice in, because I know you are a master at helping people find their voice to ask for what they need. What thoughts or comments do you have on this aspect here with Brenda?
I put Brenda's book in the chat, and I just want to take a second and read a little bit. Have you ever felt invisible? Your lips are moving, but no one's hearing you. It's frustrating when your great ideas or insights are overlooked. It can make you want to scream. Instead, take the next 30 days to learn and implement powerful tactics to improve your quality of communication. It's time to find your voice. And I think Brenda's message is so, Brenda, your message is so, I'm going to talk to you directly. I want to. Your message is so clear. And if you have Kindle, you can get the book right on Amazon in Kindle. That's what I have. I have the Kindle version. And um, I can remember. So this all started for me with surgery, where I tried to communicate to a surgeon what I wanted, and I could not find my voice. It was like I was terrified. This is going back to 2009, I think. And I just remember that feeling of being frozen. It's like when you look at fight or flight, there's fight or flight or freeze, which is part of the whole mechanism in the sympathetic nervous system. And that freeze is fear that is so extreme that it's the deer in the headlights syndrome. It's like, that's it. And here's the good news. And this is what, like Lisa was saying, here's what I love about what you do is you take it baby steps, little steps. You can, you don't have to confront the person that you're most terrified of confronting. Let's start little. Let's
Mhm.
start with what you can do moment by moment by moment. And I think there's such wisdom in that. I mean, there's wisdom in it because it's doable. And there's wisdom in it because, you know, we all, so many of us, let me say it this way, have those fears because we have diseases that are uncontrollable, that have visible impact. And so finding ways to navigate the world in a way that works. And I think that's the wisdom that you seem to bring. Can you address that and say, I mean, give people here, we have an amazing audience, by the way. Um, so, yeah.
I could touch on I can go a few different directions here because all of this is so invigorating to me. You know, Lisa, you mentioned that sometimes you become an advocate and you are actually teaching people about the condition with all of those what could be uncomfortable interactions, asking for accommodations when you go into a workplace environment or new situations. Many of the lipedema patients are faced with bullying, online taunts, and so many hurtful and awkward situations. And the ones that don't take it personally and allow it to hurt them, but the ones that say, this is a teachable moment. I own who I am. I own what I am dealing with as a chronic condition, and I'm going to use this to educate and teach others. Many of the people that are in your audience do this all day long, and it helps get the word out. That's why I weave lipedema into almost anything I do, because I want people to know. If 11% of the female population has this, people need to stop judging and start understanding. Understanding builds those bridges. So then to your point about freezing, Catherine, oh, so important. And this is a little line that will save the day. The more prepared you are, the less scared you are. And I always say, go into an important conversation, whether it is with your boss or a boyfriend or girlfriend or a child or your neighbor or the PTA or whomever, with a plan. In fact, my HEARD method, HEARD, starts with number one, have a plan. Before you go into that doctor's appointment, know exactly what you want to say, know what the desired outcome will be, and work backward from that. I always say, march in with the standard of care for lipedema in the United States. Having done your research, the audience, whomever it is, will know if you've done your homework. And if you're just throwing things up against the wall and hoping something will stick. So have a plan is number one. Number two, HEARD, is edit yourself. Because in the abundance of words, your meaning is lost. Synthesize what you want to say down to a sound bite. And I talk about crafting a sound bite, a 7 to 15 second statement. I diet, I exercise, I cannot lose this, and I am in pain. Something's going on here. You know, helping people understand your message using as few words as possible. The A is anticipate pushback. One of my biggest mistakes was being shocked when people would question me. How dare they? Why are you not applauding at what I'm saying here? Why am I not connecting? And then when they would push back, I'd be offended. And then everything unwinds from there and it unravels. When you are prepared and you edit yourself, you've anticipated pushback. I deal with important conversations like I am a reporter or going into a press conference. All right, bring it. What are they going to ask? What are they going to say that can rattle me? So that when it comes up, I'm not rattled. I am prepared and I know how to respond. The R, HEARD, is repeat yourself. Repeat yourself. Look, when you tell your teenager to take the trash out, do you have to say it once? No. Don't expect people to say, oh yeah, I got it. No. In fact, the rule of 7 is you've got to say it 7 different times before it lands. So don't be offended. This is just a fact. You're going to have to repeat yourself. In the book, I talk about bridging techniques. So you don't sound like you're nagging or being annoying, but you can bridge back to your talking points again and again and again until finally, aha. I also talk about verbal highlighters because in the abundance of words, and sometimes this is deep stuff. We're talking about your health here. You can tend to go on and on and on. But if you can use a verbal highlighter, people's ears will perk up. Mm-hmm. A verbal highlighter is blah, 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 blah. But the main thing is what you really need to know is the bottom line is if you can put a verbal highlighter in there, all of a sudden people will lean in and they will listen. Just like if you got a 10-page memo, oh gosh, who wants that, right? But if someone takes the time to highlight in yellow the key points, so too you can do that with your voice and use verbal highlighters. And so have a plan, edit yourself, anticipate pushback, repeat yourself, and D, demonstrate that you've listened. Go in there with a notepad, take notes, repeat back. What I think I just heard you say is, and if you demonstrate that you are actively listening, that golden rule of doing unto others as they do unto you, that kind of thing, when people feel like they have been listened to, they are more likely to listen to you. So demonstrate that you've listened. But I have always had I have deer in the headlights. So here we are doing the interview. We made everything. Technology will fail you on occasion, and all is good and right in the world. And then the trash truck shows up outside. And I'm like, oh Lord, I hope they can't hear that. I'm not sure. I did muffle extraneous sound. You will have deer in the headlights moments, but the more prepared you are, the less scared you will be. And you can go back to what you have so beautifully prepared. It will save the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I hope there's so much chat going on. I'm hoping somebody can type in HEARD as a reminder for everyone. We'll put it in the show notes, but what a gift. I love that it's heard because it's about getting heard. It's a brilliant method there, Brenda. I have a question for you as far as what's in the book here. So one of the things you have, I'm going to see if I can find my chapter. Hang on. I'm going to find it. Okay.
And
Day
okay,
5,
day
learning
5.
to say no. Okay. All right. How many? Okay. For those of you in chat, I see Simi and Casey and Margie and Juanetta and Kristen. I'm just going up her. Thank you, Kristen. So many more are here. How many of us say yes because we don't want to disappoint someone even though you're in pain? How many of us say yes to multiple things in the weeks coming, not even anticipating how many spoons we have left or what energy we have? I'll just speak for myself and say what you have in this chapter 5, right? You have all of these examples of how to say no gracefully and stay in your power and buy yourself time. And I think that it's such a gift to this community because of course we want to be included. So we're going to say yes. Of course we want to have, go to that offsite meeting or whatever. Right. But Brenda, can you talk a little bit about no and how to empower ourselves to say no, even if like our heart's saying yes, but we know our body isn't working with us right now? What are your thoughts on that? I think it's really a huge gift.
The quote that starts that chapter is from a dear friend of mine, Denny Gilbert. And he said, until you start to say no, your yeses have no meaning. And as a recovering people pleaser, you need that tomorrow? Yes, absolutely. Yes to everything. Yes. And my value to others actually went down. I'll go give it to Brenda. She'll say yes. I'll give it to a busy person. They'll get it done. And when you what it really comes down to is settling your own self-worth. When you know your value, the value of your time, the value of what you bring to the table. I had to, when I started my business, learn how to say no to clients and to say no to opportunities that didn't align with my core values. So it's the physical constraints that may cause you to say no, but also the internal ones that are, no, this is just not a good fit for me. And the thing about it is you can say anything gracefully, but when you bottle things up, they come out wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the screaming part comes in. You suppress. You're like, I'll just say yes. I'll say yes. And then finally you're like, blah. And you alienate everybody that way. Learning
And then
to
you
just
shame spiral, right? I'm sorry. Then
Yeah.
it's like, oh yeah, after I lose my, okay, well that was lovely. Yeah.
Yeah. And
I
then I've
handled that
shot
one
my
better.
credibility. Oh,
Yep.
I hate this phrase, another emotional woman. Ooh, just don't do that with me.
Yeah.
But sometimes our emotions do. If your emotions are lessening the impact of your message, then you really need to, on the back end, before you get into that situation, work through your emotions so that what people get is clean and measured and prepared and calm. Now, sometimes we blow it. And that's where, you know what? I blew it. I got really passionate about that. But it doesn't change the fact that the bottom line is, and then boom, there's your talking point. But if you have a problem saying no, and I say in the book, sometimes the word no is like back in the day when on happy days, the fawns could never say wrong. Okay. Some of us choke on the word no because it's counter to our desire to serve and to help and to please. There's nothing, those are beautiful qualities. But if you know it's wrong to say no and you don't know quite how to say it, buy yourself time. There's no reason why when someone asks you something that you have to say yes immediately or even no immediately. People will respect you if you say, you know what? I appreciate the request. May I think about it? You've automatically bought yourself time to think about it, to weigh the pros and the cons, but people will respect that you value your time, your workload, your bandwidth, your energy enough to say, I really respect the request and I want to give it the weight of proper consideration. Can I get back to you on that? And then give them, can you give me until Friday?
Mm-hmm.
Can you give me until next week? I will get back to you, but I need to properly consider this.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, you just don't feel that thing gripping you around the throat and that pressure. If you are feeling like this, that is absolutely the time you need to buy time.
Yeah.
Because you will say or do something you'll regret.
Mm-hmm. You have one in here. It says, I can't say yes to this, but what I can do is. I love this so much for all of the lipedema patients who are trying to navigate work and home. And they're like, hey, can you get that birthday present or whatever, right? I can't get the birthday present in person, but I can order on Amazon. Like, I'm just like, there's ways to like navigate this, right? And,
Yeah.
or, when they call you and we only have one appointment and it's in the middle of pickup for your child, I can't be there in person, but can we do telehealth? Like there's ways to like land it so you don't give up your power and stay in. And this is why I love your chapter so much. I'm like, this is a playbook. So everyone go to page 32, just saying, right? It's in there.
Well,
Yeah.
and we don't give ourselves permission. Part of
Mhm.
what the book is trying to do is give yourself permission to
Yep.
think of it a different way. We have grooves, patterns
Yep.
of behavior that we've done for years. And the book is a way of offering you strategies to think about it a different way and come at it a different way. Present to others a new version of yourself. It is never, I'm 61. It is never too late to reinvent yourself. And I always say, and I encourage everybody I love to do the same. If you haven't talked to me in a couple weeks, come at me fresh because I am constantly growing and changing. You will not get version 2.0. You're getting version 3.0 now, a new and improved version of me. Don't treat me like the person I was 10 years ago or even 10 days ago because I'm continuing to learn and grow and evolve. And that's why, so many people don't hesitate to get a coach for this or a coach for that. But they never think about communication, which is something you're going to use in every area of your life, from the boardroom to, I say, Bumble, the dating app.
Mm-hmm.
You use communication in every area of your life. And even if you think you're great, you can get better. And why wouldn't you? Because it will improve your life personally and professionally.
Yeah.
And the thing too, Brenda, is that even if you think you're not communicating, you're communicating. You can't not communicate because everything about you is always communicating. And that is the key.
When I was a reporter, I would love when interviewees would say, no comment, talk to the hand. Because right there, you got your story.
Mm-hmm.
What are they threatened about?
Mm-hmm.
7% of communication is the words you say. 35% is your tone, your modulation, and your pauses. The rest of it, 55%, is your body language, your eye contact, how you present yourself. One of the things I love to do, and I talk on stages all over the country, and I do workshops with organizations, but I do one-on-one coaching, and I help people improve how they present on Zoom. Because I say in 1 hour, I can improve your communication 100%.
Mm-hmm.
The right lighting, the right microphone, the right attire. When I was a news anchor starting out in my career, I loved my big earrings. And my news director said, Brenda, the earrings. Because people are so busy looking at them dangle when you move your head, they're not listening to what you say. And the whole point is removing the barriers. And some people say, well, I just don't like Zoom meetings. Well, tough. They're a part of your world.
Mm.
So put your best face forward, because if people are put off by how you present, and I'm not saying be inauthentic, be you, but be the best you can be, because
Mm-hmm.
the more you present that way, the more likely people are going to listen to what you have to say. And what you have to say is so important. Your voice is important. You are important. Don't let the circumstances of life shut you down. And I don't know how much time we have left, but may I just say as an encouragement, my logo for my business is a butterfly. And I tell this story whenever I can. I had a friend who actually started a butterfly farm.
Mm.
And she thought, when she saw, I don't know if you've ever seen a butterfly trying to come out of the chrysalis. It's not like, ta-da, here I am.
It's not dainty.
Violent. It is a violent twisting to get out. And she saw this and said, well, let me help. And so she took the chrysalis and tried to open it to help the butterfly emerge. And the butterfly was beautiful, but it couldn't fly. Because in that pressing against the chrysalis, in that pressing on in a dark time, you're creating strength in your wings so you can fly. And for many, lipedema can be a dark place, but I say keep pressing on because you are creating strength in your wings so that you can fly. And in that flying, and many of the people in your audience that have tuned into the live, they have pressed on and they are flying and helping others today. And you find often your purpose through your pain. I think of the amazing lipedema warriors like Patty Cornute and Casey Grosvenor and Pale Ginger Pear and the Lippy Butterfly, Angelique Charles and Jenny Bogine. And I could name after name after name, Susan O'Hara, all these amazing people who have pressed on and they've used their pain for purpose and they found their voice. Your voice is different than my voice. Even on this screen right now, Catherine, the way you say a thing is different than the way Lisa, you say a thing, the way I say a thing. And we would do ourselves a disservice to compare and say, oh, well, since I can't say it like Lisa, I should just shut up. No,
Exactly.
because you speak through the filter of your life experience and the lessons you've learned and your own stories, and they are valuable.
Mm-hmm.
So speak up, be heard. You are worthy. You are worthy, and your voice matters.
Thank you, Brenda. Catherine, we've got Carol on here. I think this is exactly what Brenda's talking about. Carol Ashburn says, just think about this. I actually had my digital mammogram this morning, sitting in a chair due to my disability. All these years I had to stand with difficulty and never said a word. So that's exactly what you're talking about, Brenda. Look at Carol is like perfect timing. Carol, I applaud you. I applaud you. Thank you for letting, I bet that mammogram tech learned something. Right?
And if you don't ask, you'll never know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you may hear no. Well, then no is your indicator. I need to find a new doctor's office.
Yeah.
Or I need to not head in this direction. But if you will not get unless you ask. And I always quote the old Joe Jackson song, you can't get what you want till you know what you want. And know what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Know what you want and ask for it. And you might just be surprised at what you get. I'm so happy for that person. That's wonderful.
Carol.
Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. And many of the people that you were commenting on are here. Patty's here. Casey's here. They're all shouting from the rooftops how amazing you are. I wish we had more time to put all the chats up. But Brenda, when you're done, go take a look at them. Catherine, I always like to have a moment for us to just give you a second to capture your thoughts because she closes us out in such a beautiful way. But Brenda, we talked about saying no. We talked about accommodations and chairs. We talked about your herd method, finding your voice, knowing you're worthy. Catherine, what last comment, question, thought would you like to say to close us out today? Brenda, thank you so much.
I just have such gratitude for you, Brenda. And I'm just thrilled that your voice is what's rippling throughout the communities that we're in and are affecting us. It's just wonderful to have it. So thank you, my dear friend.
Thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you all so much. I appreciate the lipedema community. You know, I This book was supposed to come out in 2022, but in 2021, I suffered a series of losses that pulled the rug out from under me. And I must say that the lipedema community, who I grew to love, loved me back. And they loved me to wholeness, where I could find my voice, and in 2024 come out with a book that I feel is part of my life's work. And it was a joy to write. And if it helps anyone, then good. I'm so glad.
Brenda, would you be interested in coming back? We need to do part 2 about bullies, like the bullies in the world and the bullies in our heads. I think that there's such a pull through here. So would you be interested in coming back? Can we have you back?
You can, I would be honored. And anytime you have me back, it's a privilege.
Oh, well, same here. And I don't think I got to tell anybody how I met you, but I met you through going for my lymphatic pump, and you were such a help for me back then. And then we started doing interviews, and then I was being, highlighted for different things about lipedema. And I think one of the things that I think is so beautiful about you and Catherine that I would like to close with appreciation is holding others up and holding space for all, right? I mean, you and I do the same work in many ways. And you were like, let's play, right? I'm like, oh, let's play. And I remember you saying, what do you want to do? I'm like, I want to change organizations. This is what I do, right? And you do that too. We both coach. We both speak. There's so much there, but there's never competition. It's always collaboration. And Catherine is just open doors to so many. I just want to say that I think community is the root of healing. And so thank you for being a part of our community. Thank you for bringing me into your community. And Catherine, thank you for starting all of us off with this little seed of you going, I have this thing and I'm not going to keep it to myself. We're going to figure this out together through heart to heart. I mean, everything you do is a heart to heart. So to Lois and Lori and Patricia and Carol and Kristen and Juanetta, oh my gosh, Sherry, Christine, Casey, Maggie. I mean, you listen, there's so many people here in this community right now. I say thank you for being a part of our heart to heart today. And until next time, make it a great day. And if you like this episode, please share it. The replay will be up in just a moment. Let's not do this alone. Let's do it together. Thanks, everyone.